Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with my review of Applirise Action Series 13, Gaiamon. So this should be one of, if not our very last Applirise action figure. I haven't seen any on the horizon after this, but I'm not quite sure, you know, because I haven't checked any of my other sources other than just the pre-order page lately. But yeah, it's definitely going to be one of the last ones because we are nearing the end of Appmon. So this is Gathmons, like, basically his mega form, you know, his god form. It's kind of funny, this came out quite a while before, and at this point we're an episode away from seeing this in the show that I'm recording it, I mean, but like this came out quite a while before that, which is just kind of weird and out of sync. And I guess it makes sense that they would only do him, since we got, was it only Gaiamon for the basically quote-unquote champion stages. But anyway, there's the box in the background. I'm not going to pick it up and go over it too much, but something I have appreciated out of this line is it did have really neat box artwork. Okay. So this was a bit of an interesting one. I guess look-wise, overall, I think he's a really neat design for sure. I think he's pretty cool, and I think the figure for the most part captures it in a pretty neat way. It's a very interesting figure. I would say that for these figures, there's basically two like ends of it. There's ones that I think are the really good ones, where like stuff like this is basically more hidden and it blends in well. And then there's some where it's just really obvious, like you can see the joints everywhere and it's really disjointed. I didn't even mean to do a pun there, but so those are like, I think, the opposite spectrum like ends of it. And I think this guy's right in between, where I think he looks pretty solid, and like he has bits like this, oh sorry about that, like this and this to help hide some of the more joint areas that are really obvious, but you can still, he's still a little bit gangly and not quite as well designed, but I think for the most part he looks pretty solid. Thankfully there's not very many stickers for him. The only stickers are a couple around here, and then on the kneecaps and shoulders here, or shoulders, the arms here. And then his eye, you'll have to put it right here, I think this little strip, before you attach the top like helmet piece or whatever you want to call it. He does have a bit of an interesting piece with the cloth. This one's super easy. You basically just drape it around and hook it on at several key points. This one's a bit complicated, at least for my smallish brain, and I didn't even fully get it right. I'm probably going to mess with it a little bit more before I put it on display or anything, but I got really impatient trying to get ready for this review. It was taking me forever. But basically you kind of like fold it over and stick one of the joints through it and plug it in, and then you have to like fold it over the shoulder pad so it creates this, and this is kind of like a really like 55% version done of it, but that's basically the idea. Ideally you're going to want this to more so cover the shoulder, but in a way I kind of like that you can see the shoulder a little bit. But yeah, it's probably the most, and it sounds stupid to call it complicated, like it's really difficult. It's just, it requires more patience, I guess. But it's the most complicated thing I've had to do for these, because usually it's pretty intuitive for the most part, outside of a couple points throughout it where you might misread a piece and have to look it up in the directions. I feel like there's something else interesting. Oh, you probably will notice at some point, but I did have to cannibalize one of my other ones, because this guy's joints are clear, and when I put them out of the bag, they all fell like off the desk and onto the floor, and I thought I got them all, but I could not find the last one, and I really needed to get this review filmed because it was late, so I just decided to borrow one until I could find it, so that's why that is. But yeah, I've talked quite a while about it, but the articulation is pretty decent, since you get, you know, all these joints from the little pieces, so you can get a pretty decent range there, some bending there, but depending on how you bend it, you'll be able to see, like, you know, this open area and stuff like that. Sorry about that. The camera does not want to look at this guy. And you get a pretty solid range on the legs as well. And again, you'll probably see more of like the kibbly bits, or underneath kibbly bits, but the skirt piece kind of gets rid of that. His feet can move a little bit, so if you get him in a pose where his leg's out, you can sort of stabilize him, and his head will move around a little bit. The mullet will hinder it a little bit, so just be wary of that. But overall, pretty standard stuff, and it feels pretty solid. It doesn't feel loose or anything. It feels like a pretty decent-ish figure. It's very a weird verdict, because this guy had some like honestly unique aspects to building him, and also like I said, I think he's a perfect middle of the road between some of my more favorites of the series that I think really create a more stable appearance, where you don't see the underneath like skeleton as much, and some of the other ones where you really do see the skeleton. So he's kind of in the middle of the road, but, you know, I think if you are really a huge fan of this design and you really want to figure that, you won't be that disappointed. And it's honestly a pretty affordable line too, which I think I think really helps also in recommendation. But this has been interesting. I'll see if they do announce any other ones. I'll definitely pick them up if they do, but I think it's been an interesting line is that I have liked them in a way, and a lot of them look cool on display. I did not mean for that to rhyme. But I do just kind of wish we'd just get regular figures that didn't require any building. Not because I don't necessarily enjoy figures like that, it's just sometimes it created discrepancies in the way it looked that bothered me, and I just thought it would be more fun to have just a regular figure, maybe with a bit more detail that you wouldn't have to build. But it's honestly impressive. We've gotten figures for like 85% of the Gathmons selection of the main Mons, considering they basically quit after like the very early days of Cross Wars. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It's Dawson Ryder, signing out.